Oh yeah. How's it going out there, everybody? Man, I tell you what, I'm on the tail end of some sort of flu or something, and so I may not sound that great, but my energy's back. But yeah, I was down for the count for a couple days there. Took a day off work, which I virtually never do. Probably should. And then other days I just kind of stumbled through. But I'm back in the land of the living. I think I'm gonna title this something like even the cartoons were against Joe DiMaggio. Even the cartoons were against him. And I tell you what, when the cartoons are against you, man, that's when you throw in the towel. And that's exactly what DiMaggio did. Now, I'm not making something up. We're going to go through the story. Now, I will say there's a little bit of clickbait here. Here's the clickbait. It's not the cartoons that were against him. It was only one, just one cartoon. The rest of the cartoons were with him. And I'm going to show some new cards as well. 5. I'm going to show a handful of new cards I have never shown before on this channel. So that's pretty exciting. There's a dude out there, Dylan, Double D. He basically said, Adam, you scum-sucking dirtball. He called me out. He said, look, are you a card-carrying member of the Cartoon Club or not? Because if you are, put up or shut up and show us some new cartoons. Yeah, that's not exactly how he said it. It was much nicer, but he lit a fire under me. I got other new cards I could show as well, but one thing at a time, because otherwise this will be a 3-hour video. I've got thoughts on cards, but again, I won't share them all because this could be a 3-hour video. Without further ado, let me share with you the story of when the cartoons, full disclaimer, just one cartoon, was against Joe DiMaggio and how that all played out. So let me turn this camera around. All right. I am reading this book right now, thoroughly enjoying it. I'm maybe a third of the way through or something like that. Stanley Cohen, if I'm saying his name right, the 36-39 Yankee dynasty, baseball's greatest dynasty. So let me just I won't read. I might do a little direct reading from the book, but I'll kind of just skim just for a couple minutes, and I'm giving you a glorious Joe D to look at there. Now, this one doesn't have cartoons, but as you probably know, it's a recent pickup. The seller wanted $1,050. I offered $875. He took it. Boom, just like that. In a pristine one. The color just blows me away. There's a splash of color and then a dash of color across from the printing process. Check that stunner out. And then the ink nice and thick on back. Look at this. They honored Joltin' Joe with card number 1. Card number 1, and this is just his 3rd year in the league. That's pretty crazy. So I wanted to give you something to look at there. By the way, that card, the card that we're looking at, that kind of epitomizes, if that's the right word, where I think I'm heading, which is when it comes to a card that's, say, a $40 card, just to have a number, I might pay $60 or $70 instead of $40 in order to get, much nicer centering or, higher grade, better eye appeal, all that good stuff. If you're into that, I'm into all of it. I want it all, and I want it now. I can't laugh too much or I'll get into a coughing spell here. But when it comes to the high dollar cards, do I really want to spend $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 for a Leaf DiMaggio? I'm not judging anybody else because, hey, I spent $875 on this piece of cardboard. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of dough. I think where I'm heading is when it comes to those big cards. Big is relative, I know, but big relative to my budget and the budgets of many. I think I'm kind of heading toward, you know what? Go ahead and take some issues with the card and save a lot of bucks. The issues with this card seems to be stuck in some sort of an album, but I tell you what, the color just pops. I mean, wow, wow, wow. All right, the story. Story time. It's not just Drew, a vintage legacy that's got stories. Here's the difference, though. He's got stories. I got to read him out of books. Okay. Let's see here. So, the beginning of the 1938 season. You know what? Let's do this upright. We really need to have, I'll put it over here. We really need to have the 38. There's my two DiMaggios. Oh, yeah. I do have one of his non-playing days cards. But we'll just go with those two. Doubled my DiMaggio collection when I picked up the Leaf. Oh, yeah. We're looking now also on the left, the 38 Gaudy Joe DiMaggio. Well, what happened when the 38 season started? Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? He was nowhere to be found. Why? Because Joe DiMaggio believed spring training had opened, no Joe DiMaggio in sight. He believed he was worth the grand sum of $40,000. But Jacob Ruppert, the owner of the Yankees, said, nope, you're worth $25,000. Now, for perspective, as a rookie in 1936, let's see if I can find it here. As a rookie in 1936, I think his salary was $8,500, and then his second year, 1937, it was doubled to $17,000. If you add another $8,500 to that, that would be $25,500. So, looks like he's getting a raise that's pretty substantial each year in terms of percentages for sure. I mean, the second year, his raise is doubled. The third year, it's almost a 50% raise that he's being offered, but DiMaggio said, nope. I'm worth at least $40,000, and he had a case for it. His first 2 years were nothing short of spectacular. You could make an argument that at the age of 23 years old, DiMaggio was at least as good as anyone in the game, and he was improving. So you could make an argument he should make more than anybody else. Now here's the deal. Ruppert, the owner of the Yankees, said, hey, Lou Gehrig has been an all-star 15 seasons, and he's only going to make $36,000 in 1938. So what makes you, young whippersnapper, think that you're worth $40,000? This is a dramatization. I don't think he said young whippersnapper. Probably threw some cuss words in there. Who knows? And how did the ever-classy DiMaggio respond? He said, hey, it's not my fault Gehrig's been underpaid all these years. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. Poor Joe DiMaggio, nobody was in his camp. Why? Because we're talking about Depression era. And we're talking about a time before we held our sports icons up almost as if they were untouchable, almost as if there's some sort of gods or something. This was a time when you could potentially see a Yogi Berra or even a Joe DiMaggio on the streets in New York City, and you might say hi, you might get an autograph. They were people just like you and I. Oh yeah, you might hold them in a special place, but they were just people. And they were doing a job. And not too many people were making $25,000 a year. And not only that, a whole lot less people were making the $40,000 a year that DiMaggio was asking for. So people thought, nah, this turkey needs to accept his wage. Act your wage. He's a young guy. $25,000 is a lot of money. In this Depression era, he should just be thankful he has a job. And the press was not with DiMaggio either. In fact, there were nearly a dozen newspapers in the 1930s. Newspapers were king back in that era. Several of them carried a photo of DiMaggio wearing an apron and cooking spaghetti in his restaurant, his family's restaurant, DiMaggio's Grotto on Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Pretty bold move there, but even the press was like, hey, DiMaggio, you're going to be out of a job if you don't accept that $25,000. And of course, Yankees management was not with DiMaggio. So he stood on an island, all alone. And what happened? Well, the season started, and the Yankees started poorly. In fact, let's see here. I think they lost 3 out of 4. I'm skimming here, but they started out poorly. Now, you'd think that would give DiMaggio some leverage, right? Without me, the team is not going to win another pennant this year. They had already won 2 championships in a row. DiMaggio was a big part of that. You would think that would give DiMaggio some leverage. This was, of course, before free agency, before the players really had much power at all. Just the opposite. The press, the people, they all blamed DiMaggio. It was DiMaggio's fault for not being there, for not acting his wage, accepting the generous offer, and getting in line, man. Getting in line and playing ball. So what did DiMaggio do? He saw that, he was on an island. How's he going to deal with this? So here's what he did. He took out an article in the Liberty magazine explaining his position. He ultimately caved and came back for the $25,000. By the way, when he came back, the fans booed him quite a bit. They were not happy. But it wasn't long until DiMaggio was doing DiMaggio things, just ripping up the league, and so the fans forgave him. But here's what DiMaggio said in his article. He offered me $25,000. I believed I was worth as much as $40,000. At no time was there anything personal in our disagreement. If you offer $8,000 for a house and the seller insists it is worth $10,000, does that mean you are deadly enemies? Now, we've got to modernize this because you can't really buy a house for $8,000 or $10,000. So, if you offer $8,000 for a DiMaggio playing days card and the seller insists it is worth $10,000, does that mean you are deadly enemies? No, of course not. DiMaggio speaking, I kept holding out because I thought I was right, but as the season approached, I began to weaken. Not because I had changed my mind about what I was entitled to, but because the game gets into your blood. When the Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 in Boston, maybe it wasn't 3 out of 4, maybe it was 2 out of 3, I decided that my place was with the club and that money no longer was the first consideration. So I called up the Colonel Rupert. I called up the Colonel, and in 5 minutes, everything was straightened out. I accepted the contract for $25,000, but did so without giving up the idea that from the books, not only the American League records, but the attendance figures of the New York club, I was worth $40,000 to the Yankees. All right, so DiMaggio caved, but I can't blame him. What else was he supposed to do? The people were against him. The press was against him. Yankee management was against him. Even when the Yankees started out poorly, it was DiMaggio's fault. It did not give him leverage. Let's check out these cartoons. On a pristine one, he's a member of the Yanks Murderers Row and flirts with the home run record. How about this lower cartoon down here? Considered one of the greatest fielders of all time. That's one heck of a statement to make about somebody who's in his third year in the league. How about this right bottom cartoon? Baseball's Hall of Fame. What are we talking about? This is his third year. He's just starting. Joe rated a niche in this place from the first year in the major league. So, glowing reviews for a young 23-year-old. Here's the cartoon that was against him. Look at him carrying that sack of money. That's a big sack of money. Pretty fair salary for a young fellow. Even the cartoon is against him, saying, hey, look, Mr. DiMaggio, that is a ton of money there. You can hardly carry it. For a young fellow of 23 years old, $25,000, totally fair salary. You, my friend, should accept it. Kind of interesting how times have changed, but what do you do when the cartoons are against you? You cave, man. It's all you can do when the cartoons are against you. Speaking of cartoons, let's continue on. Now, you've seen this one before, but I promised 5 new cards. This is a cartoon fest. It's not a con job, it's a cartoon fest. The Red Sox cleanup man. We got the homer, the triple, the double and single. That says single. I'm not sure if I can get this. Let's see if we can get some better focus here. Having a hard time with that. All right, well, maybe that's the best we can do. We got the double cloud, the single cloud, the homer, the triple, and now double X. One of the leaders for homers. We got the double X. Checking out all the cartoons. Might as well tack this up now. I do believe he won the RBI total contest in 1938. Might as well tack this up now. There we go. That's a little better. Jimmy's always after records. His hitting for 1938 has been sensational. So when these cards were put out, the season was moving along. And of course, DiMaggio had came back. He had accepted the 25 grand. Bob Feller, woohoo! Bob's fast one is the talk of baseball. Throwing through that hole in the fence isn't easy. How Bob perfected his control. Bottom right, young fellow hails from the tall corn country of Iowa. Top right, jumped right into the big leagues, into big league ball from high school. Oh, now, I'm a cartoon addict. I don't care if they're in the Hall of Fame or not in the Hall of Fame. What I care about is if they're with cartoons or without cartoons. So I want them all with cartoons. This is the feller, my big purchase at the 24 National. Now we get into new ones, never before shown on this channel. By the way, why are these numbers so high? This is number 288 because there's not 288 cards in this set. There's only 48 cards in this set. So what is going on? Here's what's going on. Gowdy started numbering them as if this set were a continuation from the 1933 Gowdy 5 years later. In other words, where 33 Gowdy ended, the next number was the first card in 38 Gowdy. Then they did 24 without cartoons. And then they probably said, how can we make more money and sell more cards without having to increase costs too much? So they made 24 with cartoons. So it's really a 48 card set. I don't think of it as a continuation of 1933 Gowdy, but I think that was a marketing ploy by Gowdy to try to get you to, complete, quote unquote, complete your 33 Gowdy set with these cards. I consider it a 48 card set. Actually, I consider it two 24 card sets. 24 with cartoons, 24 without. The with cartoons are more popular for cartoon addicts like myself. Never before shown on my channel. Oh, VGEX Plus. We're talking Vintage Gem Extraordinaire 4.5. We've got Marvin Owen. Look at that beauty. He's another California product. We got the Sun, we got San Jose, we got the Coastal Range. Plays the hot corner like nobody's business. He's an outstanding third baseman. Would that be third baseman? Bad news for Heavers. Heavers at all time, or Heavers. I guess those are the pitchers. Look at that beautiful cartoon body. It's not just the cartoons I love, it's the cartoon bodies as well. So we've got Marvin Owen. Never before shown on this channel. Continuing on, we got Moose Salters. Now this, my friends, is the world's most overgraded 5. But I love it nonetheless, and I didn't pay crazy money for it. So what are my criteria for these? They got cartoons, and they look decent. That's it. I mean, even my Joe D is a little bit beat up, but I've got the Joe D. The cartoons look good. The color looks good. So, my standards are relatively low on these. These are tough pre-war cards. We got Moose Salters. Hits over 300. There he is in the clouds. The Indians' powerhouse is liable to bust up the game at any time. Look at that. Pittsburgh. He's from the Smoky City. And there's the glorious Moose. I remember Double D saying, oh yeah, we got various animals on these. I need them all. I want them all. They labeled him Moose because he was a bit awkward as a rookie. Look at that beauty. Oh, that red. That red, just stunning. Stunning. All right. So there's 2 cards I have never shown before. This one's got my favorite cartoon. This next one, so far my favorite cartoon. I'll show it to you in just a moment. By the way, it's not uncommon for these to get toned, but look at that. With that tone around the outside, this has a spectacular look, I think. Pretty cool. Zeke Benura, not sure if I'm saying his name right. 300 class this way. Zeke definitely belongs Upper right, Zeke has physique. There he is, just trying to carry that physique around. Here's my favorite cartoon I own so far on the 38 Goudy. Oh, what a sock on the noggin. Look at that ball. Not happy being knocked over the fence. One of baseball's out of the park smackers. Zeke is power plus. Check that beauty out. And there's the back. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think we're going to put these guys in the middle, the PSAs. My other two new cards are SGCs. So we'll put these PSAs in the middle. And then we'll bookend. We will bookend with SGCs. For now, for the new SGCs, we got Rip Radcliffe. Look at the color on that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. These guys all used rouge back then, I guess. Let's see. Throws strikes from the outfield. 300 hitter takes a real cut at the ball. Unless they're over the fence, you can count on Rip to pull them down. Rip Radcliffe. Check that beauty out. I tell you what, I would love, love, love to make more progress on this set, but it's not so easy because, there aren't too many out there and they're asking, usually a few $100. So I just want to kind of be patient. I scarfed up all that I could. Double D had already scarfed him up. I scarfed up all that I could without paying crazy money. We got one more. Now this one I won at auction. I think the rest of them was either buy it now or best offer. But this one I got recently at auction. I think this dude's in the Hall of Fame. I don't really care. All I care is he has cartoons. That's what I'm talking about. Ernie Lombardi in a Fantastic Four. He uses the interlocking golf grip on bat. Smacks me for 302. Oh man, I love those smacked around balls. Maybe I just, maybe I have some issues. Let's see. One of the biggest men in baseball, 215 pounds, 6 foot 2 inches and fast. There's a teeny little bat boy out there. Look at that glorious red there. Ernie Lombardi of the Reds. Catcher. Oh, pretty big guy for a catcher, I think, especially in those days. So there's the 5 new ones. There you have it. Now, I know that Double D we're both collecting the set with cartoons, which I think is pretty cool. I know he's looking for reasonable centering for the most part. I think maybe he gives a little more on the yellow border because you don't notice the centering typically so much. And that's cool. That's awesome. For me, what am I looking for? I want them all to look, I just want them all to have vibrant color. I guess vibrant color, it's okay if they've got issues as long as all the cartoons are there, the color is vibrant, a few little wrinkles or whatever is perfectly fine as long as they're not too distracting. Heck, I'll take this DiMaggio. It's got its issues, as you can see. A little scuff, some toning, some surface wrinkles, but it is a pristine one. It's so sweet, so stoked to have it. What matters the most to me, DiMaggio's looking good. The cartoons are all there. The color's there. Yeah, it's got some toning. So I'm up to 8 24ths, which is 1/3. 1/3 of the way there. I think Dylan's up to 12 24ths, half the way there. Maybe he's 14 24ths. I don't remember, but he's like at least half the way there. I'm 1/3 of the way there. Coming after you, buddy. I'm coming after you, Dylan. You know what we're going to have to do? If you want, I haven't even discussed this with Dylan, but sometime we're going to have a showcase showdown, cartoon showcase showdown. And here's how we can do it. Something like this. We'll give like, I don't know, 1 point for each cartoon. 1 point for the centering. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We ought to do a showdown just for the fun of it. 1 point for eye appeal. So if my number's higher, I'll get the point differential. Like if you have a 2, but I have a 4, I get 2 additional points. But if yours has better centering, you get a point back. And if we think yours has better eye appeal, you get another point back. And then we get a point for each cartoon or something. Something like that. Let me turn this camera around. I have no clue how long this video is, but you know what? I've turned a new leaf, man. Here it is right here. I've turned over a new leaf, which is, I mean, sure, I'm trying to be careful with the time, but I'm not doing this to get, to make money or to get a huge number of subscribers, because if I were, I'm getting my butt kicked big time. Yeah, I am getting my butt kicked left and right big time. And, for those who can make some money at this, my hat's off to them. I'm happy for them. Just trying to live life. I got a lot of stuff. I'm busy with this and that. So I'm just trying to connect with some people, have some fun, enjoy myself, and not work too hard. I could learn how to video edit, but even though I am kind of a techno dinosaur, I could learn, but maybe I'm too lazy. I just want to push go, record, show some stuff, have a good time. So there you have it. 5 new cards. Oh, 5. I'm a mathematician. 5 new cards. Just this morning I was explaining some of the intricacies of vector calculus to my students, but I can't even count to 5. 5 new cards with glorious cartoons. Dylan, you motivated me. I'm coming after you, but also the story of how even the cartoons, technically it was just one cartoon, was against Joe DiMaggio. What do you do, my friends, when the cartoons are against you? It's time to give in, man. It's time to give in. Thank you for sharing in my joy. I hope you had a wonderful and peaceful time in the Vintage Sanctuary. Take care, my friends.